A sparkler is lit by three teens on a runway. The sheer space around them shows, visually, their closeness, while being isolated socially. This shot lasts 8 seconds, emphasizing the solitude they have endured and the companionship they have received from each other. There is a hint of melancholy here, as if not seeing each other is something she finds difficult to endure, revealing they were unable to meet in person till now. Yet he seems to have a different perspective as he speaks with reverence for their time together. The silence between the lines show they are comfortable to the point words need not be said to avoid feeling awkward. The focus placed on his words indicate they are here for him specifically. Already, their expressions, manner of speech, and behavior creates contrast, differentiating them from each other. The next shot reinforces the strength of their bonds by how close they stand together. The space around may have multiple interpretations where they are incredibly isolated and find solace in each other's company, or they are at a point they could be anything they want to be in the world, or a combination of the two. Following the prologue, Tomoya stands on a rooftop, the only connections being those he is interacting with over the phone. Cutting to a diner, it stands out visually. The characters are various shades of the same color, while standing out from their detailed environments. This could be a reflection of their muted emotional state or highlighting they do not belong. Despite meeting for the first time, their personalities are all distinct. Ryo is laid back and has a fashion sense that is often correlated with the popular kids. Aoi is reserved, modest, and radiates nervous energy lacking in self-confidence. Tomoya is direct and methodical in how he conducts himself. The exposition related to the summer ghost is intercut with the three of them preparing to go in search of her together. The information is for the benefit of the characters and the audience as it sets up the origins of the ghost, having been sighted during the summer 2 years prior, and revealing herself when fireworks are set off. The shot of them on the escalator stands out. Aoi looks straight ahead, alert and present, with her arms in front of her, holding the strap of her bag in an effort to comfort herself. Tomoya looks beyond, here but not present. Ryo is the only one not looking at his reflection, as if he is unwilling to face himself. Finally, the line separating the panels begins with Tomoya being split in two and having it shift till he moves over to Aoi, a visual border that Ryo never crosses. As Leandro is a visual storyteller, there is likely a meaning to this that will be made clear in time. The sketch not only shows a rough idea of what the ghost looks like, but also sets up Tomoya being talented when it comes to drawing. Upon seeing it, they have different reactions. Aoi focuses on the drawing and his ability, a result of the living, while Ryo focuses on the subject itself, the figure related to death. Tomoya presents another perspective regarding the individual, the act of suicide itself, showing the different levels of infatuation in the topic of death between the three of them. Walking to the location, Aoi falls behind till she halts. While she is interested in seeing the ghost, she has reservations, showing that while she hesitates, there is a willingness in her to be open with them. Ryo makes light of the statement, though not to mock it, rather to reassure her by being playful, diffusing the tension, and giving her the opportunity to relax, following which they walk, prompting Aoi to make a choice, cementing her desire as a result. Walking together gives them the opportunity to get to know each other. While Ryo is the most sociable of the three, Aoi is the one making conversation here. While it could be gleaned from the information presented, asking the question directly has multiple functions. It allows the information to be conveyed to the audience directly, while also letting the characters interact with each other, build their rapport, and reveal what they are willing to be open about. Shifting to a point in time in the past, an adult goes over Tomoya's test results with him, a consistently good student with a lot of potential, reflecting well on not only Tomoya, but also the teacher guiding him. Considering the color palette, it is dominated by shades of blue, showing a distance between the characters and coldness in the environment, where results are what matters, rather than what the students are capable of individually, stamping out individuality in favor of creating Tomoya looking away lets out a speck of humanity, yet the lethargy in his eyes hides great pain beneath the mask, keeping people around him at a distance as a result, leading to the smile fading as the facade breaks down completely, unable to maintain it. Cutting to his room, it is bare, lacking personality and individualism, as if everything is reduced to what is necessary to keep him from straying from the path in front of him. Pulling his clothes from his closet, a canvas and easel is within, revealing what he yearns for, but is unable to enjoy.
Tomoya, そんな顔してどうした? 着いたぞ。
Having arrived at the location, the scale of the runway is revealed as Tomoya takes a moment to appreciate it before shifting to the history of the airfield. Aoi simply wonders at the location while Ryo, in contrast, does not care for it, only in reaching out to the summer ghost. As such, they light the sparklers, hoping the ghost would show herself.
本当にいるのかな? サマーゴースト.
Aoi starts to doubt, not out of cynicism, rather a hope she is real, and so they keep at it till it is night. Having spent so long waiting, despite being the one most interested in meeting her, Ryo is the first to call it quits, while Aoi is far more patient, as if he is in a rush while she is trying to look for a reason not to go home. Ryo, handing the last sparkler to Aoi, shows a kindness and selflessness from him where his mind is on others rather than himself. Tomoya meanwhile stands separate, disconnected from the bonds in front of him.
トモヤ、俺、実は幽霊信じてたんだ。
Ryo is the first to open up, while the camera moves through the air as if the perspective is of someone flying towards them.
いなかったのは残念だ。でも、最近で一番楽しかった。
This further hints to Ryo's character, his history, and how it has affected his life as a result.
二人に会えてよかったぜ。ありがとな。
With the music swelling, the visual cuts between the various perspectives established so far, and as the only character left to introduce is the ghost, this is likely her. Reaching them, time itself seems to stop.
何これ? どういうこと?
サマーゴーストさんですか?
While Ryo and Aoi are taken by surprise, Tomoya is focused on the ghost, which grabs their attention too, and upon seeing her, much of the stories online seem to be true.
そうよ。一体何の用? 私みたいな死んだ人間に.
She responds plainly, as if this is something she has gone through prior. Looking directly to Aoi, the film cuts to a flashback of her past, and the empty hallway reinforces her isolation. During the lunch break, students engage in friendly conversation with their cliques. Aoi looks on, eager to take part, yet is unwilling to. On the roof, she looks to the sky, basking in the nature in front of her, the school acting as her cage, while her desire is to be free of the pressures of interacting with others. However, this peace is interrupted. The ruined onigiri represents her state of mind, fragile and only a push away from doing something drastic where the insides are on the outside. Exemplified by the fact she tries to walk off the edge only to be stopped by a student. An item can be used as a visual shorthand to show a character's state of mind in an image rather than lingering unnecessarily. The foundation in the garden of words related to Yukino's mental state being an example of this.
久々に学校来たと思ったらまたこれですか?
This line reveals this is an ongoing problem. Though it does not matter how long she spends away from school, the bullying picks back up right where it left off, leaving her helpless.
あの感じ、本人にも問題があると思うんですけどね。
While this is harsh on the surface, the idea of accountability is brought up. If she is unwilling to stand up for herself, why should another? Besides, it cannot be expected for this individual to protect her at all times. The longer this persists, the more sympathy would erode due to her own inaction. By staying home, she is running away from her problems, prolonging the inevitable rather than confronting it. With that said, this is difficult to do when someone has such low self-esteem that the simplest task seems monumental. Back to the present.
幽霊にもスクールカーストってあるんですか? さあ、どうだろう。基本的に一人ぼっちかもね。
Despite her smile, there is a lack of humanity to her, naturally, as she is a ghost, simply in a state of existing. Yet upon hearing this, the prospect of isolation only brings Aoi relief.
ま、人といるのはいいことだけじゃないからね。
The camera focuses on the boys in the background, looking at the sparkler, still burning as if time is still due to her presence, potentially referring to them. That despite their friendly disposition, there is still a lingering worry by virtue of the fact she has to interact with others. Also, how does the world behave? Is it slowing down, or have they sped up? She correctly assumes why Aoi was contemplating suicide, revealing only those who are considering death can see her. Using this information and the way the three are behaving with each other, friendly but distant, concluding she is in fact quite perceptive.
じゃあ智也くんたちも
This naturally grabs Aoi's attention.
それでそっちの二人は質問ある
She reveals the sociable aspect of her personality, making sure all three have had a chance to speak and ask questions of her.
サマーゴーストさんは
佐藤彩音私の名前よ
The three stand together, yet Aoi is the only one facing away from Ayane, showing despite speaking a moment ago there is still some hesitation in her. While they ask her questions, she picks up the sparkler. Is she able to touch anything she wants? Can others see her pick things up when she is not visible? Can she hold others? Regardless, she does not have the answers they are looking for, as the experiences of a ghost is difficult to explain to someone who is still living. With their time having run out as a result of the sparkler burning out, Ayane says goodbye to them, leaving them alone on the runway, marinating on the aftermath of the encounter. Ryo's flashback, where he is at the hospital alone, his parents forced to stay at home so he does not have to see them crying, establishing his condition is terminal, and that he is wearing a brave face in front of those who are around him, either as a result of having accepted his fate, or it not having sunk in yet. Shifting to a basketball court, the color palette changes to something warm, contrasting with the cold and sterile blue of the hospital, as if it is a reflection of Ryo's feelings towards the two locations, basketball representing passion, joy, and the life he embraces, while the hospital is a constant reminder of his mortality.
頑張ってんな先輩久しぶりだな
This brief exchange reveals Ryo looks after those who train hard for the sake of the team, that he is older than the boy playing, is good enough to warrant his respect, and that it has been a while since he last played, meaning his illness is something he has been enduring for a while.
先輩なんでバスケやめたんですかなんとなくなんとなくって
He keeps it a secret, trying not to drag others into his troubles, a stubbornness intermingled with a sense of selflessness and a hint of fear.
俺もうすぐ死ぬんだ余命9ヶ月来年の桜は見られない
He says this as he takes the shot, not giving the underclassmen any time to process what he said. It also establishes a basic timeline of events, with it being summer and cherry blossoms bloom in spring. This information recontextualizes the prologue as Ryo is likely the summer ghost to be Aoi and Tomoya are visiting.
なんてな本気にした
Till now he has not flip-flopped in his perspective. As such, the shot seems to be a self-imposed bet, meaning there is a large part of him that wants to tell others, but regularly stops himself as reinforced by his expression. Tomoya, in his room, faces a canvas, imagining what he would paint. As with the prize segment with Ryo, the music swells optimistically. However, this moment has a sharp end when his mother calls out.
智也ちょっと来なさい智也聞こえてるでしょ
はい
It's as if he wants to linger as long as possible before facing her, desiring to avoid her.
1学期の模試から今のあなたの傾向を出したわ
From the matter-of-fact way she approaches this, it seems to have been a part of their routine for a while. It also shows she is intelligent as she is going through his work thoroughly. Their relationship is cold as she treats him without emotion, in a sterile, orderly environment emphasized by the lack of music and color in the scene.
数学は誤差の範囲問題は現代文の記述自分の考えじゃない試験としての答えを書くの
Treating his accomplishment in maths as things expected of him rather than a reflection of his efforts. Conversely, regarding the essay, she tries to get him to focus on the data so he could navigate the problem, while he is looking for an outlet to express himself through.
本当は分かってるでしょどうしてこれだけできないのかしら
This crushes him because, by her rejecting his answers, it can be seen as her rejecting him. Over the coming days, Tomoya, Ryo, and Aoi keep in touch, speaking to and messaging each other regularly, learning about each other as a result, all while it is presented through an upbeat montage to show these small moments are things Tomoya greatly values. While in his room studying, Aoi is outside alone. Either her relationship with her parents is strained, they do not pay too much attention to her, or a mixture of both, with how reluctant she is to go to populated places. This is likely her personal escape to spend some time alone, yet by talking to them shows a desire towards companionship. Upon finding out she is the youngest, she corrects the honorifics in their names, being respectful towards them, though Ryo sets her nerves at ease, displaying the hierarchy that ordinarily exists, do not matter among the three of them. She then questions if the ghost was indeed real, grabbing the others' attention because they were all present when they spoke to Ayane. Aoi questioning herself, Ryo reassures her, while Tomoya waits till he has more information before acting. The conversation switches over to a phone call, carrying on where they left off. Visually, all three of them are on screen in different locations, simulating the dialogue as if they are together. Aoi at the same bench once more, her safe haven, Tomoya walking in a seemingly secluded area, and Ryo laying down at an angle on a patch of grass, likely a riverbank.
この前のことなんか今でも信じられなくて。
あんまり深く考えない方がいいぜ。
Tomoya shifts over to face the speaker as if it were a face-to-face talk, represented visually, breaking down the walls between them as a result.
友よ、ごめん、もうすぐ家だから切るよ。それだけだったんだ。じゃあね。
Hanging up, the frame cuts out, while the sound of cicadas grow louder, as if his concentration is no longer on the call, but on this location. Leaving him alone in the frame shows that while there are two people willing to speak to him, he still feels isolated. This time, Ayane reveals herself faster than their initial meeting, though unlike last time, is far more playful in her behavior, likely due to the fact she has more time to spend with him, sitting together as the sun sets, emphasizing the connection he desires and the isolation engulfing him.
ねえ、ともやくんはどうして生きてるの？
Considering his fascination with death, his answer would lead to a greater understanding of who he is, once again giving him the opportunity to share more, or hiding behind his wall, protecting himself.
生きてるように見えます、僕。
一応ね。
This distinguishes the difference between existing and living. There is existing where one is simply alive. Then there is living, going through new experiences, adventures, and a wide range of emotions.
自分ではあんまり実感ないですけど。
Revealing to her what has been assumed based on his circumstances at home. They continue this line of conversation where Ayane continues to ask him questions, pointing out his way of living is unhealthy, setting up two different types of death, one being the literal death and the other being the spiritual death.
じゃあ、結局君はどうしたいの？
Ayane asks the next logical question, putting Tomoya on the spot, though rather than deflecting, he gives an honest answer. It is tragic how he is unable to talk about his feelings to someone alive, but can do to a ghost he barely knows. He continues to open up, eyes following the embers, as if they are his emotions leaking out of him, never to be felt again as his emotional walls crumble.
そっか。じゃあ試してみる？さあ、気分転換よ。一緒に飛んでみよう。
Hardly a request as she had already made up her mind, showing a wildness in her and willing to take a leap of faith, pulling others to her orbit. Her holding Tomoya shows she is able to grab not only objects, but people too, presumably, as long as a sparkler is lit. Regardless, as they run, the music swells as she pulls him up, setting his soul free from the bonds of responsibility weighing him down to the surface. When engaging with such a mechanic, will there be any effects on him afterward, physical or otherwise? They enjoy a moment reminiscent of Superman and Lois Lane flying over the city, free, even if it is for a moment. Letting go of him, he drops to the floor, discovering a secondary layer to this world, showing truly nowhere is off limits to a ghost to traverse, though what is beneath is an ocean weighing the soul down, pulling it under. Inexperienced as he is, Tomoya admires this new world, Ayane maintaining her playful attitude throughout while helping him understand how he too could fly, letting him sing so he can grasp the concept on his own while highlighting how grim death could be as shadow encroaches upon his vision, threatening to swallow him whole. The composition of the frame is fascinating. All around is dark, yet she hovers above, surrounded by light, as if she is the beacon guiding him, wanting to join her not only for companionship but for the freedom she represents, portraying her as an angel helping him navigate the path towards the light he must return to.
魂は君が望む方へ向かう。
There is the idea of Tomoya literally flying, but also the perspective where, once a goal is set and work is done towards it, life will find a way to materialize it. Due to the freedom available to them, she gives him the opportunity to make his own decision.
君はどこへ行きたい？
At the museum is an impressive shot where they descend the stairs. The perspectives and proportions of the characters in such situations are difficult to get right in animation, yet here are executed brilliantly as the location remains consistent while the characters' proportions adapt accordingly. As they are both ghosts, they are able to walk without worrying about getting caught by security, while they go from painting to painting, admiring and at times recreating it so Tomoya would be able to have a deeper understanding of the painting and appreciate it at a more intimate level, all while Ayane is being aloof, trying to get him to relax. Meanwhile, their conversation revolves around his passions and the fact he was ultimately made to give them up as other matters are more important, according to his mother at least. Despite this, due to Ayane bringing him here, he is able to express himself to a greater level, not only in terms of emotion, but also in what he says.
綺麗だね、街の明かり。
そうですね。
How many sparklers has he gone through by this point? Even if time slows when he is with Ayane, how long it burns is ultimately the same within the reality of the world around, and if their interaction has been continuous, it is likely a significant number has been lit. They talk about the lights given out by the various houses in the city he lives in, and while Ayane is admitting the beauty of it all, Tomoya is focusing on the logistics of how it all works, showing that while he is eager to express himself, there are some aspects of the world he is quite analytical with in the way he approaches it.
一つ聞いてもいいですか？
どうぞ。
綾音さんはどうして自殺したんですか？
With the various stories related to her online, this is a natural question to ask, and for the first time her eyes are hidden, obscuring her expression, likely to show this is a sore topic for her.
ともやくん、君は誤解してるよ。私は自殺してない。
Her expression exudes melancholy for the first time, surprising him as this is the first piece of information related to her that has been incorrect.
知りたい？じゃあ教えてあげる。殺されたの。
She is direct, perhaps to see if he is determined to hear what she has to say. There is a heavy emphasis on the brooch before the film cuts to black, indicating this is likely going to play a significant part in the story as it moves forward. They go to her home, where she proceeds to tell Tomoya about the circumstances leading up to her death, the lingering repercussions, and the heavy toll her mother is enduring, not knowing what has happened to her daughter. The home has a sense of age to it. Whether it has been in her family for generations or if they moved here is unclear. The furniture refined and the shelves stacked with books, a collection built over years. Yet there is no mention of her father, a similarity she has with Tomoya.
3年前、私はお母さんと喧嘩した。
Tomoya looks directly at the image. So is it projected by Ayane for them, or is it his imagination as already shown? The running tap and rain frozen in time reflects the suspended state Ayane and her mother are in, one as a ghost and the other trapped by her memories.
台風の中、私は家を飛び出したの。
The sound design accentuates her story, as if the images they walk past and the music are transporting them back to that night, allowing the filmmaker to blend the past and present so enough important details are on screen while showing the character's reaction to said information.
それで道路を渡ってる時、信号を無視した車にひかれたってわけ。バカみたいな話よ。
The manner she is touching the glass, and her tone when speaking combine to portray the regret on the forefront of her mind, trying but failing to make peace with what happened.
まだ生きてたんだけどね。気を失っただけで。
Reinforcing the regret in her as, if she had not run out, she would likely still be alive.
次に目が覚めた時、私は狭い場所にいた。
Appearing under the desk, squeezed in uncomfortably represents her condition that night. Yet, unlike then, while speaking of the suitcase she was stuffed into, she teleports. This makes her existence seem non-linear, as if she is fleeting without any solid foundation in the reality Tomoya is eager to depart, shown by him not resisting while Ayane holds him down by his throat, contrasting the ghost desperate to live and the boy wanting to die. She concludes by admitting she was buried somewhere, with the only clue being that she heard the trains in the distance.
私の最後の記憶。
Once finished, they are outside looking in to see her mother still awake. The reasons for their melancholy are different, but their affliction is the same. Upon asking where the body is, she admits she gave up looking for it because even if she found it, she cannot do anything about it as she is a ghost. Taking this opportunity, she shifts to continue highlighting the reasons why it is better to live, even if it is at times difficult to endure, trying to deter him from his current trajectory.
ああ、まだいろいろしたかったな。 旅行とか恋愛とか善とキラキラな智也くんが羨ましい。
However, despite her prompts and efforts, he does not see it. His focus fixed on the benefit of death instead.
旅行はできるんじゃ。交通費かかんないし。
While she speaks of the benefit to living, he tries to point out the positives of being a ghost, though she, as a ghost, plays this down.
ほら、デリカシーないぞ。マイナス20点。
This conversation shows they are envious of each other, the ghostly state representing the freedom he yearns for, while to Ayane, it is her prison.
智也くん、
はい。
私、体を見つけたいの。
She may wish for this because it would mean closure for her and her mother, while being a warning to Tomoya, pointing out the fragility of life and to cherish each moment. Also, now that she has someone who is alive, finding her body would be meaningful as, once found, it could be dug up, rather than it being found, but being helpless to do anything about it. The moonlight acts as a spotlight on her, as if to say while this story is presented from his point of view, she is the core of it.
ごめんね。智也くんの気分転換なのに。
Not getting a response, she shrugs it off casually so he is not being pressured to give her an answer. Saying goodbye, the interaction ends prematurely, leaving Tomoya alone on the runway. Aoi is then at school, and while the audience are never shown what was done to her locker, by keeping the frame on her face, it is clear the prank has prompted a strong reaction from her and is suffering as a result. Ryo, meanwhile, is at the hospital. Tossing the paper into the bin shows even in his weakened state his hand-eye coordination is still on point. Where the basketball may have been too much for him, a paper ball is still within his capabilities. Furthermore, other patients recognizing him shows he has spent a lot of time here. Tomoya is skipping out, returning to the museum. Whether he is aware or not, having spent the night with Ayane, his artistic side is creeping back to the surface. On his way out, his mother finds him, reminding him how fragile his sense of freedom truly is. With him in the car, his mother takes her time breaking him down to what he was prior.
分かってるのよ。
友達を探してるんだ。
She already knows he has been skipping cram school, so simply responding with the truth could be cutting out the struggle of fighting her, or he is standing up to her in his own way, stepping towards independence.
何それ。自分の将来より大事なこと？
Blunt as it is, there is a point here. If too much time is taken in helping others rather than procuring a stable life, he would not be able to help his friend or himself in the long run. Though how this is expressed by her is less than great. She declares she will be checking his cram school regularly, restricting him further, reinforcing, while she hears her son, she is not listening, dictating what should be done rather than letting him make his own choices. Having had enough, he walks away despite his mother's protests. Standing up to her for the first time, buying fireworks, he heads to the runway, being seen by Ryo, unbeknownst to him. After searching for her body, they are in a park, facing away from each other. Ayane at the peak, bathed in light, while Tomoya is lower down, cast in shadow, as if he is trying and failing to reach her both physically regarding her body and spiritually in wanting to live.
すみません。
なんで？
This shows a difference in mentality where he is apologetic for failing to find her, while she notices a difference in him reflected by her expression, attempting to cheer him up but failing to. Ayane previously revealed her history. Now, having resisted his mother to help her, he opens up, admitting he may not be able to return when he starts university, the frame tilted up as if he is sinking from the expectations placed on him. The world beckoning while Ayane is drifting away as he is about to enter adult life.
じゃあ私探しはこれで終わり。
Taking this information in stride, she makes the logical decision. She has already spent years in this form, and would be no different moving forward. However, ending things here would give him the incentive to choose his path in life. She teleports about the park, prompting him to chase after her, within reach but never quite within his grasp.
でも別に諦めなくたって。
もういいんだ。これ以上は智也くんに悪い。
While he is at a pivotal moment in his life, his concern is still on her. Yet he is not taking into account that even if she finds the body, she cannot do anything about it, which was the reason why she gave up in the first place.
私なんかのために大切な時間を使わないで。
This is a meaningful line from her. Despite how casually it was said, as her life was cut short, she, ultimately, does not want him to waste his last moments of innocence before entering the adult world on her. He protests, but she cuts him off.
マイナス2億点。しつこい男の子はモテないよ。
You know what? when it comes to women.
I believe the less I know, the happier I'll be.
Continuing to speak while turned away allows her to hide her emotions, likely due to her being disappointed after yearning for the opportunity to find her body and getting that chance with Tomoya to give it up while trying to stay calm.
綾音さんはもうあまりいられないってことですか?
Is her spirit passing on, or is it a different reason, such as the changing of the seasons and her being a summer ghost?
そうかもね。
わかりました。また明日夕方待っていてください。
He solidifies his resolve as the film cuts over to the next day where he is at a bridge.
今から会える相談があるんだ。
Due to the time limit for finding her body, he reaches out to the only people who are aware of her and may be willing to lend him a helping hand. The pizza already missing a few pieces makes it clear they were here for a while, meaning Tomoya was waiting for the opportune moment to bring up the topic of wanting their help with Ayane. While Aoi is taken aback, Ryo is not, as he already spotted Tomoya with the fireworks, confronting him on the matter while he stands his ground.
まあいいけど、俺はやんねえから自分で死んだやつ助けたいとか思えねえ。
This is expected, as he is dying, helping someone who, based on his knowledge, killed herself would not interest him, as most of his time is spent fighting the disease eating away at him.
違う。綾音さんは事故だったんだ。大事なことなんだ。
Hearing this prompts Ryo to reconsider his stance, and rather than appealing to finding Ayane's body, he focuses on what he wishes for, hoping they would help a friend instead. When they first met, he was closed off, and after spending time with Ayane, he is steadily opening up to others.
そうかよ。うまくいくといいな。
There could be two reasons why he responds like this. He is doubling down on his perspective of Ayane, not wanting to face the truth for fear it may lead him to care, or is trying not to develop feelings for them due to his illness and making the eventual goodbye more painful as a result. This leads to them both being desperate, Tomoya needing help finding Ayane's body before time runs out, Ryo in protecting himself from the pain of losing even more than he is going to, reminding him he will likely not last till next summer.
お前はいいよな、未来があって。俺にはもうないんだ。
Openly admitting his condition to them, where in the past he would have hidden it, differentiating him from them, because while they were contemplating death of their own volition, it was thrust onto him, running away as a result. Aoi, without a second thought, runs after him, wanting to make sure he is okay, while Tomoya is held back, conflicted, a part of him wanting to go after him, but also recognizing this is the last day he could help Ayane. Ultimately, he goes to the runway.
何かあった智也くん。
いえ、何も。
This curtness shows not only are the walls not completely down yet, but he is singularly focused on finding her body. Alternatively, he keeps quiet about Ryo because he knows she would reject his help and make him go to Ryo instead, even if it is their last opportunity to search. The music and editing speeds up, highlighting the urgency of their actions. Tomoya looking for Ayane's body and Aoi chasing after Ryo till she reaches him at the bridge. His prowess as an athlete significantly diminished, and after the outburst he is at his weakest, physically and emotionally. She approaches tentatively, as if interacting with something so fragile, the slightest mistake would shatter him completely. This does not reflect his desire, rather a wish, because he fears the consequences of having people close to him when he is dying. Meanwhile, Tomoya burns through sparklers. The time limit they burn for allows him to search within a certain radius, and even if he searches along the train lines, it is still a lot of area to cover. Yet he is unwilling to give up. Also, how she pulled herself onto screen is very creative. Meanwhile, Ryo and Aoi speak openly, revealing their insecurities and disclosing their perspectives to each other, of wanting companionship yet being afraid to get close due to his life ending soon, trying to be distant and rejecting his desires.
どうせ死ぬなら一人でいればよかったんだ。
An admission not to Aoi, but to himself, accepting this is why he does what he does.
なんで会っちゃったんだろうな。
The sadness he held back comes to the surface, being truthful about his feelings rather than pushing them down and enduring. So far, Ryo was the one to comfort her, and now she reciprocates. Recognizing she is not going through anything near as tough, she opens up about the bullying, choosing to know each other better, even if it means hurting more in the long run. The contrast in color makes it all the more noticeable where the difference is when she is alone and when she is with people she likes, one cold and the other warm.
生きてる意味とかそういうの全然わからなくなっちゃって。
This calls back to when she nearly committed suicide at school, explaining why she met them in the first place, wanting answers to her questions. Approaching this conversation with a great level of self-awareness, she tries her best to get through to him rather than trying to make herself seem similar to him, bringing the conversation back to Tomoya and the three of them.
でもきっと智也くんも悩んでるんじゃないかな。私たちが出会ったことには意味があるはずだよ。
At the runway, out of sparklers, Tomoya calls out to Ayane. Even if she can hear him, unless he has a sparkler, they would not be able to interact. It is at this point Ryo and Aoi arrive with more sparklers, both eager to help. For the first time, the music is hopeful seeing the living, where prior, such moments are reserved for his time with Ayane. This interaction shows his perspective has shifted, looking beyond himself. However,
俺、お前みたいなやつ嫌いだよ。全部分かった気になってさ、自分が一番かわいそうだって顔してる。
while harsh, there is truth to this. Till a moment ago, his main drive are his own feelings, at times disregarding what everyone else is going through, despite them trying to reach out to him.
でも手伝ってやる。葵ちゃんに感謝しろよな。
It is likely she did not think highly of what she did for Ryo due to her low self-esteem, though she is deserving of this praise because she was there for him at his lowest. Working together, they cover more ground. Lighting sparklers one after another, they continue searching without stopping, convening regularly to update each other on their progress. Considering it took Tomoya some time to adjust to flying, how long did it take for Ryo and Aoi? Was it instantaneous, or was precious time taken to teach this ability? While in the air, for the first time in the film, he tries to comfort her. Gratitude radiates from her because, of all the people to search her out, Tomoya is the first to search for her earnestly.
3人には感謝してる。大事にしなよ。
Reinforcing the idea it is ultimately better to live, providing him an incentive to continue living rather than giving up. Aoi approaches, letting them know the suitcase may have been found. It is possible for them to find it by working together. However, the speed at which it was found undercuts the difficulty of their task, making it seem far easier than it should be. Ryo keeps watch, so the location is not lost, while Ayane goes up alone to identify her body.
綾音さんってどうなるのかな。
She asks the same question as Tomoya, wondering if she is going to disappear or not when Ayane discovers her body.
なんか寂しいね。
Considering they only met once, such a display of emotion is odd. Then again, she may miss her because she is one of the few people that did not bully her. Ayane's reaction shows this is indeed the suitcase with her body in it. Ryo and Aoi head back so they can dig it up, though Tomoya and Ayane linger,
よかった。これでお母さんが楽になればいいな。
showing she wished to be found, not for her sake, but to help her mother move on and start living again.
やっぱり、綾音さんは消えるんですか。
He asks her once more, wanting a definitive answer as if he is worried about the well-being of a friend.
そうだろうね。でも楽しかったな。最後にいい思い出ができた。
The visual and oral editing here is as if this is a goodbye he is not ready to confront, ignoring her final words as if it would stop her from disappearing.
智也くん、頑張るんだよ。君はちゃんと生きなきゃダメだから。
This line combined with the visual shows the different worlds they live in. Ayane's world is cold, empty and solitary, sinking and slowly being forgotten, whilst his is full of life and possibility with memories to be made with those he cares about, each inhabiting the world they once yearned for. The conversation, combined with the characters' actions, is similar to the opening, acting as a mirror to each other as a result.
心配だよ。幽霊でいるのがあんまり楽しそうだから。
This is consistent with Ayane trying to get him to see the benefit of living, hoping she has done enough to show him the value of life, knowing this is their final encounter. Running to the location, the effects of Ryo's illness are made visible once more, slowing him down. Regardless, he pushes Tomoya and Aoi forward, leaving the task to them till he is able to catch up. Meanwhile, their conversation comes to a close. Lamenting she dragged him around, yet it was on Tomoya choosing to spend time with her.
結局、私は君を置いていくんだ。
Even if she does not recognize it, she was able to help Tomoya as much as the three were able to help her. Confident that he would find his way in life, she pushes him forward. Not only is she saying goodbye, but also helping him take the first step in living life rather than simply existing as he has done so far.
命の終わりは智也くんの未来で、私の過去。二人のちょうど真ん中だから。
An accurate statement to make, coexisting in two different planes with a clear boundary between them. Tomoya climbing over barbed wire is difficult at the best of times, so it's good to have him slip and fail initially, even if it does not hurt him. Aoi resigns to helping him get over the fence and not hurt himself, pushing him forward so someone can get to Ayane, working together to do so. However, he is pulled into a different realm with Ayane present. This seems to be a form of purgatory, where they can interact without issue, being the only ones present due to Tomoya having spent an extended period of time as a ghost, potentially.
ここは死、何もない。
Despite the insinuation of nothing being here, they go to multiple locations within seconds, perhaps manifestations of locations from his memory.
でも、君のすべてが集まる場所。
The classroom and museum stairs are locations he is familiar with, reinforcing her statement. However, the final location is a merry-go-round, a new location, perhaps hinting to the idea not everything is as it seems, or related to a time when he was a child and not stressed out.
これを燃やしちゃえば全部終わり。それで現実とはお別れできる。
A sparkler being used is curious considering the meaning it has in the film. They were used to reveal the ghost, where here it is used to end his life. With how eager Ayane was for him to live, this action goes against who she fundamentally is, hinting to something being very wrong. There is hesitation in them both, yet with how direct Ayane has been till now, this behavior is unlike her altogether.
どうしてそんな顔するの？
In the past, Ayane has teleported. Here, actions and movements are skipped altogether, blending things that has and has not happened, disorienting Tomoya, as if he is being manipulated.
君は本当はどうしたいの？
This puts him on the spot, forcing him to consider an answer that would alter the rest of his life. However, is pulled away to the present by Ryo calling to him, who is understandably angry as it was Tomoya who dragged them all here in the first place. And now he is the one wavering.
ダメだ。僕は戻らないと。
どうして？
The fact she asks why goes to show this is not Ayane, rather a spectre taking her form and wearing it as a skin suit.
何の意味があるの？辛いだけの世界にどうしてそんなにしがみつくの？
This is reminiscent of who he was, and by using her form, it is as if he is trying to convince himself to go back to wanting to end his life while Tomoya refuses to give in.
確かに嫌なことばっかりだけど、まだ終わってないんだ。
This conversation is akin to him trying to convince himself to live where in the rest of the film it was Ayane who was fulfilling this role. The push earlier being the equivalent of her passing the baton for him to find the reason to live on his own terms.
りょうくんとか葵ちゃんとか少し顔を上げれば新しい出会いがあるって知った。
While he was unable to think of a reason to live, now he recognizes the positive experiences and his friends are reason alone.
お前は彩音さんじゃない。死ぬ理由を探してた僕だ。
Understanding and vocalizing this, rather than Ayane, Tomoya himself confronts him. As a result, there is no more lying, finally honest about his feelings rather than hiding behind them, satisfying the Tomoya within till he fades, freeing him of the doubt that had plagued him so far, choosing to live. Putting out the sparkler, the blank world melts away, getting back to exhuming the suitcase as soon as possible. This is intercut with him running home and digging through the closet till his canvas and easel are revealed, linking the entity that helped him live and the passion that would enable him to keep living. Despite searching for the body and Ayane confirming it is her, till he sees with his own eyes there would be doubt. This affords him the opportunity to lay her to rest properly rather than leaving her in an unmarked grave.
ありがとう。見つけてくれて。
As no sparkler is lit, Ayane takes the time to show her appreciation even if he is unable to experience it. The next morning at Ayane's home, a knock on the door grabs her mother's attention. No one is present, however, Ayane's brooch is on the floor, provided they notified the police. While this is a sentimental moment, they tampered with the crime scene. The emotional content makes sense, but the logistics do not. The locations of the film are shown one after another, as if to meditate on the moments spent with Ayane, promises kept and the thought of suicide being discarded. Similar to Before Sunrise, where the locations Jesse and Celine were in are shown devoid of others, reminiscing about the lingering emotions, the romance shared, and the memories created. Catching up to the present, the passing of the seasons are shown, all while communicating how much Tomoya misses Ayane. As with the start, the scene begins with a sparkler being lit, while in the opening it is assumed they were here to mourn Ayane, having the context lest the viewer know they are here to see Ryo. While having their conversation, visuals of what the characters have been doing are shown. Tomoya entering an art supply store, pursuing his passions openly, yet learning that living on his own will independently while taking ownership of his life is difficult, even lamenting the time his mother dictated what should be done as it took the pressure away from him. Aoi, meanwhile, is standing up to her bullies, feeling as if a whole new world of options has opened up to her as a result, slowly shedding the meek version of herself in favor of someone who is far stronger. Now, rather than wishing his life to end, he understands death comes to all, and not always when expected. His first painting being a portrait of Ayane communicates this newfound desire to live was largely built as a result of the impact she had on him. The news from both of them making Rio feel relieved as they now wish to live as he did. Aoi, seeing the sparkler close to running out, is saddened, likely because this is the last time they would see him. As such, the remaining time while the sparkler is lit is spent in saying goodbye to each other one last time. Where once Rio was not willing to let even his parents into the doctor's appointments, with him leaving his heart open to others, had both Tomoya and Ayane present in his final moments, giving him the determination to fight his disease till he reaches the blooming of the cherry blossoms once more.
そんな顔すんなよ。半年前に死んだやつに2人なら全部なんとかなるよ。保証はないけど俺は保証する。
His optimism is carried through not only in the music, but in him holding the sparkler up, as if to say they are headed to a hopeful future, that even if they do not believe in themselves, he will, because that is what friends do.
友也、葵ちゃん、頑張って生きろよ。
With this final wish, he disappears, as if meeting them was the reason why he remained in the first place, disappearing before the sparkler dies out.
帰ろうか。
ああ。
With that, Tomoya and Aoi walk towards their new lives. Structurally, the film is bookended by the scene taking place in the present day, while the core is made up of a flashback, building the context of what led them to that point. Act 1 is comprised of 6 sequences. 3 are set where the characters are interacting with each other, while the remaining 3 make up their backstory, each in alternating order. This builds the narrative and what the characters were going through efficiently. The characters are well defined, showing how they differ from each other in terms of their personalities and desires, all while the themes and mechanics of how the supernatural aspect of the world operates are all established, allowing the rest of the film to build on these solid foundations. Act 2 revolves largely around Tomoya and Ayane's interactions. Their companionship leads them to open up, allowing them to grow closer and understand each other better, peeling away their shells as a result. Meanwhile, Aoi and Rio's trials are sprinkled in, allowing the viewer to keep up with what is happening to them in the interim. This act culminates with the 3 reuniting at the cafe they met in, Tomoya wanting their help in looking for Ayane's body, where the emotions of the characters are either at their lowest or most conflicted, the relationships most fragile, and the pivotal narrative point where the characters bounce back stronger than ever or succumb to the pressure. Act 3 revolves around the search for Ayane's body, merging the narrative with the metaphors related to the characters discovering their own path, and choosing to live despite the trials that lie ahead, leading to the epilogue, wrapping everything up neatly. While none of the segments are evenly spread out, each act fulfills its role, building atop one another to form a solid structure. The dialogue is quite workmanlike, getting the job done efficiently without lingering beyond what is needed, providing exposition, progressing the narrative, and building characters in tandem, at times achieving multiple of these at the same time. What helps greatly is the fact the dialogue is tailored to each character, allowing the words to be distinct to the individual they are spoken by. Noticeable because while much of the delivery of the lines are similar in presentation, setting up the melancholic tone present throughout, based on what is said, it is clear who is speaking. While the dialogue is effective, it does so without overshadowing any other aspect of the film, rather complementing it. It does result in a lack of distinct personality that would help it stand out from other writers, much in the same way it is clear when it is a Sorkin line or a Whedon line, though this is not a flaw as long as it is competent as it is here. The visuals and music both complement the story in ways that elevates the material further, accentuating the positives rather than highlighting the deficiencies within. The music not only denotes the high moments from the low points in the narrative, but also displays an acute understanding of when not to have music altogether, letting the viewer marinate in the moment and relate to the character within, and knowing when to have the music cut to highlight a narrative, emotional, or thematic point. Not to mention they are all well constructed with a specific purpose. The visuals seem simple on the surface, particularly due to the colors being largely applied uniformly in large portions of the film. However, within this simplicity is a great understanding of how best to maximize the meaning behind them, beyond that of some of the more high-fidelity animations. Colors symbolize something specific as a result of being used in a certain context, as if used in the techniques of the silent era films. The detail in the characters and the background prompts both to stand out in different ways, allowing the eye to better distinguish between the two and focus on what the main subject is meant to be. In addition, there is a great understanding of perspective art where the size and shape of the characters warp according to the angle, objects, and environments they interact with. This film is a modest, unconventional visual and oral treat that stands apart from the visual fidelity-obsessed anime that is largely prevalent today. Aoi, among the 4 characters, has the least shown going on in her life, not to reduce what she is going through. Rather, complexity of it does not compare. She is bullied in school, is isolated, at a point of severe depression, and has been contemplating suicide. Simple to understand, yet serious nonetheless. Her behavior at the start is of one who is incredibly timid when surrounded by others, so much so she has a hard time walking alongside others. However, there are moments where her core personality shines through, revealing that beneath the walls protecting her is a young woman who is incredibly curious, inquisitive, and playful. When by herself she is stuck in a cycle of depression pulling her down till she cannot see a way out. However, learning about how hard Tomoya has to work, Ryo's illness, and the circumstances of Ayane's death recontextualizes her point of view, allowing her to overcome her trials and stand up for herself. This shift is important, not only for her growth, but because it is the catalyst that galvanizes Ryo in the finale, prompting him to help look for Ayane's body, giving him the push needed to let others in instead of enduring alone. Furthermore, she leaves herself open to be vulnerable due to the fact there are those she trusts who are willing to support her, letting out who she really is. Ryo, despite his tragic circumstances, is handling things admirably, even if it ultimately leaves him isolated, when what he wants is to spend time with the people he cares about. He is utilized in a manner that stands in opposition to Tomoya, where Tomoya is healthy but wants to die, while he is desperate to live but his body is breaking down. He hides his illness well by leaning into his personality to such a degree it could be seen as a form of denial. Despite understanding the illness, his body has not fully absorbed the gravity of the situation, and is protecting itself by having him behave accordingly. Yet embers of honesty sneak through, showing conflict between his actions and desires. His behavior may seem selfless, wanting to minimize the pain of those around him, yet it is a front. Deep down, he is scared to get close to others because he himself does not want to endure the pain of losing all the connections he has made. Not only are there visual cues to support this, the character makes this clear when speaking to Aoi at the bridge. Ryo's arc and theme is to be vulnerable and let others in who want to be close to him, opening himself up to the pain because if he were to shut it out completely, then it is not simply the pain he would be keeping out, but all the emotions that come about as a result of living and opening himself up to the world. This brings the bookends of the film into perspective, where he has accepted and made peace with the lot he had been dealt with in his life, represented through the visuals where he had his friends with him in his final moments both in life and as a ghost, having fought the illness till spring to see the cherry blossoms one last time. Ayane, like Ryo, is someone who was forced into a position through circumstances outside of her control. As a result, she harbors similar feelings to him, where she is desperate to live but is unfortunately held in stasis in the form of a ghost, unable to set herself free. As such, she treats people in an aloof manner, likely due to people treating her like a curiosity they indulge in once and never returning. Ayane represents what Ryo would eventually become, creating a parallel between them as a result, where she is at the point Ryo will be by the end of the film, informing his own perspective regarding life and death, aligning with Ayane, and wanting Aoi and Tomoya to live above all else. This is communicated well when she is spending time with Tomoya, where he gravitates towards death, which she represents, and she reinforces the benefit to living as best she can, able to spend time with each other while, by her own admission, being a ghost is incredibly solitary. Her physical body and finding it represents different things depending on which character is being focused on. To Ayane, it is a way of moving on, while showing her body to them so they would continue living without lingering on their fascination with death. the physical body making the idea of death tangible, while her ghost form has a barrier preventing them from fully appreciating the difference between life and death. Ayane, as a result, from a metaphor standpoint, is an incredibly flexible and multifaceted character for the writer to utilize in the narrative, yet is a solid enough character in her own right to stand on her own. Tomoya is the one through whom the narrative is presented. Regarding his family life, he lives with his mother, while his father is out of the picture. A relationship that is tense as she dictates what is expected of him while he is simply meant to follow. Painting has been an interest from a young age, and was something his mother allowed him to indulge in. Considering the iron grip she has on his life, it is uncertain if this initial freedom is of her own volition or a result of his father being present at the time. Furthermore, he spends most of his time studying, trying to keep up with the pressure exerted on him by his mother, pushing him towards a good university and a good job to maximize on his potential instead of wasting it. His mother may see her own life as a failure and so is living vicariously through him to enjoy the success she never attained through her own efforts. This has the effect of her treating him not as her son, rather a tool to fulfill her own desires. Combining all of this creates the individual in the film, someone demoralized to the point he sees no point in living with suicide being the only way out, which leads him to reach out to Aoi and Ryo, where he is essentially chasing death, trying to build up reasons to commit to it rather than finding reasons to keep living. Through Ayane, he finds an outlet, allowing him to express himself, yet delving deeper towards the idea of death as a result of spending much time with her in the form of a ghost. While Ayane wants to show how isolating such an existence is, he sees it as a form of peace, free from the expectations placed on him. Yet these experiences are what allows him to find the reason to live, understanding her perspective, the tragedy of her death, and the effort exerted when searching for her body, all contribute to Tomoya's rehabilitation in wanting to live, choosing to endure the trials of life instead of giving up. The film is rich in the themes being explored and the symbolism in Ayane. There is the aspect of her being used as a ghost in the narrative itself, and as a metaphor related to the wishes residing deep within the hearts of Tomoya, Aoi, and Ryo. For Aoi, it is the desire to stand up to those who torment her. For Ryo, companionship during the last moments of his life, while he fights his illness with all he has. For Tomoya, it is to pursue his dream of painting and living on the merits of his own ability. Showing his life when he is enduring the expectations placed on him by his mother, he is deflated, and his will to live has been completely sapped from him. Yet by embracing his desire to express himself through his artwork, he is set free from the bonds holding him down, propelling him down the path that would afford him the opportunity to live. The conversation Tomoya has with himself shows not only the progress he has made over the course of the film regarding his stance on his own death, but also a confrontation of where he was during the start of the film, and the lengths he was willing to go to in order to convince himself this is the right choice, only to commit to living. Considering all the reasons he has accrued to support his decision, the connections he made over the summer and his experiences as a result, facing life head-on would likely be the harder path compared to the one laid out by his mother. There is also the idea of the walls built around us so we protect ourselves from the pain of being exposed emotionally, related to how Ryo is behaving when he is with the people around him, learning over the course of the film that in opening himself up to the world, he would find the reason to keep going for as long as he could. The themes and ideas explored in this film are well-trodden ground in the storytelling format, yet it is presented in a manner that is competent, while standing out in its presentation, speaking to the universality of the ideas many marinate on, meditating on death to find meaning in life and what it even means to live.